This week, the corporate throwdown continues between Facebook and Apple. So what are we supposed to do from the sidelines? Well, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead with you guys together as a people and take it out. And welcome to another sensational Sunday. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Texted Out. And on Sundays, I like to talk about the tech and gaming news. And what am I talking about this week? Well, obviously, I'm not talking about the whole GameStop thing and Reddit and Robinhood or whatever that is, because honestly, I know nothing about stocks and finance, so I'm not even going to get into it. What I am talking about, though, is this cat fight between Facebook and Apple that has been going on since before fall. I did a previous video on it. I think it was titled "Why Facebook is Afraid of iOS 14," and I'm kind of following up on that because iOS 14 obviously came out, but a lot of the privacy features are just now starting to roll out. There's still one privacy feature that hasn't rolled out, so that's why I want to do a follow-up on this. There has been some cattiness going on in the last few days between Tim Cook and Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook CFO, so I kind of wanted to hop into it and let you know what's going on. So I'm going to go over a brief history of what happened between Apple and Facebook if you haven't seen the first video. So basically, Facebook is real unhappy about the fact that Apple is doing all these privacy changes with iOS 14. Apple actually delayed the privacy changes because iOS 14 came out in fall. They still haven't rolled out some of the privacy features they promised. They did roll out the nutrition labels, which if you go to the App Store, it actually shows like what data this app is going to ask you for, or basically what you're signing up for if you download this app. So that did finally roll out recently. There's a second part of it that's basically going to give you access to be like, hey, I don't want these apps to track me. And it's going to happen as soon as you open the app. So like if you open Facebook, it's going to be like, hey, they want access to this data for advertising. Do you want to give it to them? And if you hit no, then it's not going to allow them to track your data, at least from your phone. So Facebook basically is like, this is going to hurt their ad business. So that was what the original video was about. But now we're back in it again because recently it's gotten even cattier with Tim Cook throwing subliminal shots and Facebook CFO throwing shots back. But before we hop into the main story, make sure if you enjoy these type of videos to subscribe, because I do this every Sunday. That's why it's a sensational Sunday, and it's not sensational without you guys. So I thank you for watching. I don't know why that got weird at the end. But basically what's been happening since my initial video is just Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook had just been out there saying they're going to lose money and it's not fair and blah, 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 because with that option on iOS, like if you could just opt out of targeted ads, like that's really going to hurt their business. And to be transparent, I do have a Facebook page and I have tried their ad service. So if you're not familiar with targeted ads, like if you go do an ad on Facebook, if you have a business profile, it lets you choose like your demographics, like age, sex, location, and you can, target certain markets. So they're claiming that's going to hurt small businesses who use this feature. I mean, I use it. It wasn't that beneficial for me. I just tried it just to kind of get my channel out there. But, it didn't work out for me, but I can see this being beneficial to smaller businesses. So I get Facebook's point, but at the same time, it's not Apple's fault that you can't do this in a way that's also transparent and beneficial to the consumer. Because if you can't, that's a little bit weird. Like, why do you have to deceive us to get our data in order for your advertising to work? You can just be transparent and tell people what the benefits are, or offer them a benefit. I don't know, maybe you give them 50% off of a Facebook portal if they opt in to allow, access to their data, and let them know it's for advertising purposes, but hey, you get a discount. Or maybe offer some other feature that's a benefit to customers if they opt in to share their data for advertising purposes, because you're still making money off the advertisements. And that brings me to my next point, that Facebook is not free. No service is really free. That's how they make money. Before I go any further on this, I want to read this recent statement from Facebook CFO. I think his name is Wehner. I don't know how it's said. But basically he said, beginning late in first quarter, we continue to face significant uncertainty as we manage through the number of cross currents in 2021. We also expect to face more significant ad targeting headwinds in 2021. This includes the impact of platform changes, notably iOS 14, as well as the evolving regulatory landscape. He also said that ad revenue could slow down if pandemic trends that have been so far beneficial to the company, namely the massive increase in online shopping, begin to subside. So basically he said, we're going to be facing some troubles. He tried to throw in some other stuff like, look, you know, the pandemic and all that stuff. People will stop shopping online as much if everything opens back up. Oh, and then also, you know, iOS 14 too. That's going to cause some trouble for us. So that's basically been Facebook. They've been out there complaining and whining and being like, oh, this is going to cause trouble for us. We're going to lose money. So the next day, Apple had a privacy conference. And, you know, Tim Cook ain't mentioned nobody directly, but he did throw a little bit of shade. So I'm going to read his comment during the privacy conference. So this is one of the quotes from the article. At a moment of rampant disinformation and conspiracy theories juiced by algorithms, we can no longer turn a blind eye to the theory of a technology that says all engagement is good engagement. The longer, the better, and all with the goal of collecting as much data as possible. Later, Tim Cook argued that there was a clear cost to the practice of over-prioritizing interaction and growth over more human concerns, polarization of lost trust, and yes, of violence. So basically, if you read between all them subliminal shots that was happening, like blah, 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 he kind of was taking a shot at all social media and being like, look, y'all are focusing on keeping people on the platform and engaged longer over their safety and protection. And he's right, and Facebook especially, because they had a bunch of issues with false information being on their platform and dealing with that. I mean, of course, they've gotten better recently, but it was just kind of like, you know, we're up here making all this money. We don't care what goes on this platform. And then they had to step up and answer to the US Senate because of things that happened, you know, 4 years ago. I'm not going to get into. But yeah, there's just been a lot of stuff. Like, Facebook should have been more responsible. And they're trying to regain trust, but at the same time, they're being very anti-consumer by battling Apple on this whole privacy thing. Like, even Google had to go ahead and conform with the privacy labels, and they didn't put up an argument with it. I mean, it took them a little bit longer to get their labels for their iOS apps on the store, you know, saying what data they were taking, but they went ahead and conformed. Even Google, who's evil, who's almost as evil as Facebook, let's be honest, even they conform without arguing. But Facebook is just like, you know what, we're gonna be evil, and we're gonna be fully just openly evil. And I'm just like, how you just gonna be openly evil like that? Like, you ain't even trying to sound like you good. Like, at least lie to the, like, do what Apple does. Like, Apple's evil, but at least they make it seem like they're not. Like, come on, how you just gonna look evil like that in front of people? It's embarrassing. And I'm gonna be honest, it's good that Apple is focusing on privacy and bringing these features out to people. But do I really believe that they're doing it because they love people and they think that their privacy should be respected? No, I think that they're doing it because it generates revenue. It makes them money. It's a selling feature for iOS and macOS. They control the whole platform, so it's a lot easier for them to focus on privacy than it would be, like, let's say if Google wants to do that with Android. Well, maybe they can do that with their own phones, but Android is so fragmented, meaning that there's so many phones out there running so many different versions of Android. They couldn't do that as a whole, be like, you know, all Android phones are focused on privacy. All of them are going to add these features to make sure that the user is notified of what information is being taken. It'd be almost impossible because of the fragmentation, and it's reliant on the manufacturers to update the phones to keep them on the current version of Android. And Google is working on that fragmentation, by the way. They're working on making the OS more modular so that way they can update the core of the OS, and the changes that the manufacturers make to the OS won't be interrupted, so they can go ahead and push updates. But that's going to be in the future. Like, once they finally get that in place, that's only going to affect future phones. So from the mobile standpoint, no one's able to do that except for Apple. So them selling privacy as a feature is a big plus for them because they control the whole experience. They make sure all their phones get updated at the same time. And unless you're running like some kind of ancient brick, you probably are running the latest version of iOS. You're probably running iOS 14, you know, unless you just opt out of updates on purpose. So basically what I'm saying is, whether or not Apple's doing this for a good reason or not, you know, I think that they're just doing it for money, which is fine because they just had record revenue. It was like 111 billion in sales this last quarter. So they doing it for money, you know, it's working and it's a benefit to the consumer, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine if a company's still evil, but they at least do stuff that helps people and also benefits them at the same time. At least be evil in a good way. Facebook is just being evil right now, and they're trying to play the victim, which makes no sense. They're just like, well, we're just gonna lose money and it's Apple's fault. These small businesses are gonna suffer. I'm like, no, this is supposed to come out in the fall. It still hasn't rolled out yet. It's supposed to come out in the spring, and you still haven't figured out a way that works to make it transparent to the customer and make it beneficial for them to want to opt into this advertising, instead you're just sitting there and being like, oh, well, we're going to get screwed over. Like, that's stupid. It's your fault. Like, the whole thing is your fault. Anyway, I'm done with this rant for today. So let me know what you think. Are you a Facebook user? Have you gone as far as deleting your Facebook? I'm getting close. I'm not there yet. I still like having it for business purposes, and there's still some people I talk to on Facebook Messenger And also, I just started my Instagram up at Mike Text It Out if you want to, follow me there. So I still use Facebook products. They are evil, but I just kind of deal with it because I do like their products. But how do you feel about it personally as a user? Do you feel like it's worth giving up your privacy? Do you even have a Facebook account? Is it like bare bones, like you barely got nothing, no pictures or anything? Let me know how you're dealing with Facebook being evil, because I know how I'm dealing with it. Just using it as little as possible. But I am bringing this video to a conclusion today. But if you enjoyed it, make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.